Hey everyone. Sorry for the delay there, but hopefully the live stream is on now. And I'm joined by Andrew Antar. You want to say hi, Andrew?
Hey, how's it going?
It's good. I'm super happy you're here with us. So let me
Thanks.
just share my other screen that I have over here really quickly. Anthony on the sidelines over here, please let us know if there's any issues with the live stream. Um, Cool. Hopefully our attendees can see this. Andrew, please let me know if there are any issues. But we're here today with Hedera's first virtual meetup, which I'm super, super excited about. So we're actually here today to just talk about discussing the developer experience. And I'm super happy that we have Andrew, who is the co-founder of Tunefm. Would you like to talk a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure, yeah. So I'm a co-founder of Tune.fm with my brother. We started the company out as Hero.fm, which is basically an independent music marketplace. And so when we discovered Hashgraph and we had decided to tokenize our marketplace and do micropayments using cryptocurrency, we decided to launch a new product called Tune.fm, which you see here, where basically you can discover music all around the world. So you can zoom in and click on any country and find different local music communities and see what's trending in different communities. You can also, it's infinite scroll, you can discover profiles and you can listen to the music and stream it and sort by hottest and newest of different time periods, different genres, locations, even find different instruments if you're looking to find musicians. And so basically, we created a community, and now for the first time ever, you can actually earn jam tokens for your music being streamed. And then you can promote your music as an artist. And then listeners can earn jam tokens just for listening to your music for the first time. So you can gain new fans and have verifiable first time streams. And so we actually worked with Matthew Knowles, who owns Music World Entertainment, which is one of the largest independent labels and has Beyonce instrumentals and Solange and many Grammy award-winning artists across 4 different labels. And so we just uploaded the entire catalog using our new label management bulk upload system over the last few weeks. And then we launched that and announced that recently. So we actually, we've actually been working a lot with the Hedera team to scale our smart contracts. So we've run into, a whole host of different interesting technical things. And, I guess that's what we're here to talk about today.
Yeah, that's exactly why I'm super excited to talk to you. I'm super happy that you're able to provide, that background and that context for those who aren't familiar with Tune.fm. I think that most of, the Hedera community is familiar with you guys and, loves what you guys are doing. So would you actually be interested in, taking us a little bit, like a walk through your guys' website and show kind of what is available on your platform right now and the different functionalities there?
Sure. I guess are you
I can pull it
controlling it
up on
on
my
your end?
side.
I can point you around a little bit. We can, walk through some of the
Yeah.
basic product stuff. You're already logged in, it seems. So,
Yeah, I should already be logged in actually. Let
uh,
me pull this up. But yeah, just for anyone who hasn't actually seen your guys' platform, I would love to just kind of walk through it really quickly. So this is the homepage like he was talking about, I'm sure, with the infinite.
yeah. So if you zoom into the map there, if you scroll, or there's a little plus and minus, you can click on the country of the United States or any other country, with you
Yeah.
can pan around as well just by dragging. Yeah, so you see how you have all the states, and you can click on different states. And so if you see this artist here, Ginger Coyle, if you click on her profile right there, yeah, just click on the whole card and you'll pull up. And so if you disable scroll bars, and we're actually going to do something that'll hide them, but that's actually a Mac OS thing. But
that's my bad.
Usually if you're a developer, you have to turn it on because you have to build for this. But anyway,
Yeah.
so that's not usually how it looks
The
with the scroll
DevTools on.
bars, but that's, well, I still have to like do a workaround for that. Anyway, So if you just press play on this album, the big play button there on top of the album cover, see your cue on the left. You have a play cue all the way in the bottom left here. So that's actually, it's put all the songs in the album. So yeah, if you click play, you can listen, and then right above the song name and all the way across the top of the player is the tracker, and you can actually track forward, you know, into later parts of the song. You've got the volume. You can go to the next song in the album. You can fan the song, review the song, and if you go to your wallet and you open that, you can click, and this is, we're actually going to have a whole dynamic wallet that shows all your transactions, but right now it brings you to the wallet page where you can see your Hedera account, your public key, your Solidity address, and also our current jam rate per minute, which will actually, with the jam price changing, we're going to have an algorithm that keeps the jam rate per minute stable. So that's going to be pretty cool once we're actually listed on exchanges. And you can see some of your transactions here, and you have some pending payments. So we have a bulk transfer function that will, every half an hour is running.
You can see all the songs I've listened to.
Yeah. So we actually have a batching system which does the bulk transfer of all the micropayments. So you have 2.7 jam pending, and essentially that within the next half an hour, probably something you're listening to right before this, I hope. You know, that's going to get processed and it'll deduct from your wallet. But actually, we just are fixing a bug with bulk transfer right now, so we might have had it offline. You know, let's hope it's not affecting the demo, but it will.
Yeah, no problems. This is super interesting. So you guys are really one of the first, you know, consumer-facing implementations of smart contracts on Hedera, right?
Totally, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so you guys have been with us from day one. How has that experience been? Would you like to talk a little bit about, you know, the early days? I think you were with Hedera way before I was, before Hedera was even announced. Would you like to talk a little bit about that journey, that developer journey you've been through?
Absolutely, yeah, I can tell the story a little bit. So basically, so I had, you know, told some of the backstory before how we started the company earlier, but just starting from the Hedera side, we had decided that we wanted to tokenize the platform already to fix the issues inherent with fiat. So the 30 cents plus 3% for credit card payments wasn't working with the 75-cent song that somebody wanted to buy. Like, it's ridiculous. And then even the math involved to deal with a cart of songs from like 10 different artists to allocate the fees. It's just really complicated, and people were confused by it, and it really ate away at earnings, and it just like clearly wasn't scalable. But it was like, that's all we had, just money, you know. So we thought about like credits at some point. We thought about accepting Bitcoin at some point, and it was like this like crypto thing was always nagging on this product, right? Because it's a marketplace. And I'm sort of into like, you know, obviously music, but also tech and finance and trading. And so, you know, when cryptos came around, I'm interested in like the origins and nature of currency and exchange in general, like academically. And so I've always been super into crypto since like 2010, right? So I've always wanted a way to combine the music tech company with the crypto anyway. I just needed the right way to do it. And then I figured out that the main problem we could solve was the fiat problem that we could solve with crypto. Excuse me.
No problems.
Probably get some water, actually. I have a cup right over there. So anyway, so we decided that in order to bring crypto in, once we can bring crypto in and tokenization, there's all these new opportunities for new business models. John, can you bring me that cup of water?
Let's take a drink break here for a second.
Yeah. Anyway,
should have came prepared with
yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah.
So anyway,
the crowd as well. Yeah, feel
I'll
free
keep
to
you
take a
waiting.
drink break.
So yeah, so the suspense, it's worth it. So anyway, the idea is that crypto enables this new business model, which wasn't possible before, and that's what really got the wheels turning. And that's what made it exciting. It's
Yeah.
not just like,
so you were really trying to solve the fundamental business problem, and then from there, were you looking into what technologies would be, viable solutions, or
exactly, yeah. So
yeah.
we were looking at like Stellar and EOS and also Steemit and their proposed SMT platform that never happened. We
Did you start building on any of these other platforms?
We never actually wrote a line of code on any platform. But we looked into the code of the platforms and like the developer community, and like we're wondering whether it's possible. And we knew we needed high throughput and low fees and smart contracts and all these things. And we were looking for the right thing. And like it was a crazy time in 2017. And like Ethereum started getting wild, and like I knew I wanted to do something.
The fees skyrocketed overnight.
Yeah. And like nothing was clear up front. It was like we knew we wanted to do tokenization, maybe some new business model stuff. And then like basically once I stumbled upon a Hashgraph, which was totally just by chance, like on YouTube late one night, I think it was some that hidden secrets of money YouTube. Because like I'm interested in like currency stuff,
Yeah,
so,
that's
like,
a common origin story in Hedera.
Yeah,
I feel
it's like almost every OG Hedera person like, oh, I found that video. Yeah, so that was the big like first viral video, I guess, for Hedera in a way. And because I'm already plugged into the weird currency videos, like in crypto stuff, like obviously that came up on my feed, so I was destined to hear about it. So. And then I'm like, oh my god! They
stumbled on us in a random YouTube video. That's interesting.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, this guy Lehman Baird is like super impressive. And then I was like, the website is like really like, whoa, I don't know. I'm talking the old website. You don't know if you remember. And it was But it was like, okay, clearly these guys are not marketers, and like they're just hardcore math guys. And like I liked that. I liked how like really stripped down it was. And it's just like, here's our 80 plus page white paper, mostly with equations about ABFT. And yeah, we basically cracked the code to DLT. It's not blockchain, by the way. It's this DAG, like proof of stake, like whatever, virtual voting, gossip about gossip. And so like, I sort of like, had like.
That was a great summary.
Yeah,
we should replace the whole
nutshell. Yeah.
We should replace all 80 pages with that. There's some virtual voting.
Exactly.
Stuff in there. It works.
Gossip and virtual voting. You got your consensus. It's ABFT, Bankrate, blah blah blah. And then like they're gonna be bigger than Google, blah blah blah. So like, okay, so I go down the rabbit hole of like, is this too good to be true? And then like, okay, I'm looking at the website, the white paper. I'm reading the white paper, and then I'm trying to watch every video there is of Lehman talking about Hashgraph, like the Harvard thing, this and that. And then, Dmitry Kofinas, like, I saw all the material, right, very early that was there. And I was like, okay,
there wasn't much
really compelling, because this was mid crypto, where it's like, if you're early on the latest tech, you're quantum proof, whatever. This really felt like, especially during the crazy time, stumbling upon like the next big thing, right? But like, I also had a business interest for the tokenization of the music platform. That channel was going at the same time, like exactly around the same time that I was interested in new tokens and new blockchain and DLT stuff. So anyway, finally, I called up Paul Madsen, and
did you just have
his phone joined number, like Telegram, and like I was like, hey, I have a bunch of questions about how the rounds work of the virtual voting, and I like some technical questions, and he's like the lead architect, and like he seemed like he was active on the Telegram, and so I was like, I need to ask you some questions. The basis of this was before the launch of the public anything. This was still like pre-launch, it was still swirls, right?
Yep.
And so I had like a 2-hour conversation with him, and just really deep technical about how it all works. So I really wanted to get to the bottom of it and totally understand it all the way, so like I can explain it to anybody and also understand mostly the feasibility of doing a token on the platform, as well as, well, just how, first it was before the ERC20 thing was announced. So actually I didn't even get there. I was still interested in how the consensus worked, like the ABFT part, like,
Yeah, there was no
and the voting.
solidity or smart contracts in
Yeah,
the
no, that
mix
was
at
way
that point.
before
It was
that. I'm mixing it
before-
already because
Yeah.
yeah. So I did deep dives on that later. But
Yeah.
Paul Madsen, that first conversation was mostly about like how they pick the median and the timestamp fairness, that kind of stuff, you know, like all like getting that all down. And so I finally felt like I understood Hashgraph, and then I was like, okay. And he kept teasing like, okay, well, there's going to be a public ledger announcement, but we can't really announce anything, and like blah blah blah. There's all this like, yeah, but it was like a few months before. So they're like, then finally, like, okay, we have a big announcement. Come to New York, blah blah blah. I'm in Philly. I'm like an hour and 15-minute train. So obviously I went, and I wouldn't miss it. I was like, I need to see what this is, because if this is a public ledger we can build our token on, then that's it. And the first
game over. It's
game over. I was like, then this is the right thing, right, for us. And so anyway, long story short, I was dragged out. But when they announced with literally the first 3-minute intro video, within the first 30 seconds, and it was like, and musicians can get paid with micropayments, I was like, well, that's what we're gonna do. But there wasn't like any music thing announced. That was just like, here's one of the great use cases for this. So I sort of like, that was really exciting. And then I sort of like ran over to talk to Lehman afterwards. He was like a celebrity. And then I was like, hey, we want to build this music platform, like the thing in the video. That's exactly what we want to do. We already have a music platform. We just need the tokenization. Like, and when they announced the Solidity EVM, I was like, boom, right there. We can do the token integrated with the thing and do all the micropayments and do all the rewards. And then we can actually have gamification. And so then the sort of new, and Lehman says, I don't see why it's not possible. All that sounds possible. That sounds great. You should talk to Alex Godwin. You should talk to whoever, blah, blah. And so then I started talking to Alex, and then we got a partnership arrangement signed.
Went through the pipeline.
And then we're off to the races, and we're like, oh my God, well, I got to write a white paper, build a website that explains what we're trying to do. Nothing was public.
How are we going to add the tokenization on top of this kind of existing, and then actually come up marketplace that you had?
Exactly.
Which is super interesting, because you don't see a lot of people in this space kind of having existing businesses and then retrofitting their platforms or whatever they're doing. And it seems just like such a logical fit for you guys that it just makes so much sense that you just move over, you gamify and tokenize everything. And it's super, super interesting.
So
I love a good developer origin story. So I appreciate you giving us that insight. Would you mind talking a little bit about how Tunefm's application architecture kind of looks? Like, what is your website built in? What is kind of the stack that you guys chose to build all of this in? Obviously, you have Solidity in the mix because you're using smart contracts. But could you kind of tell us what that looks like?
Yeah, totally. So basically, we have so since we're like really early, so we joined the Helix program, you know. So basically, when we announced that we were building on Hedera, with Helen Disney, we brought her on the advisory board, and we did Hedera 18, and we came up with this whole new business model of tokenization and gamifying like reviews and listening to music and new music and everything. We decided to, jump into the SDK, right? And so we wanted to do Python originally, and basically, because our whole app is Django Python, but we found out that certain things were actually not in the Python SDK at the time, but they were actually in the Java SDK. So, but our whole thing was in Java. So we're like, well, what are we going to do? And so we actually, after Hedera 18, we joined the Helix accelerator programs. We were in Helix at the time when we were looking into this, and had to, talk to Hedera basically. So a bunch of Hedera guys came and explained like how the APIs worked and this and that. And we did technical deep dives, and with protobuf and how the SDKs and how Rust compiles down all the other SDKs. But there's really Rust making the, every other lange. And then there was Java. So it's basically two different things, two totally different worlds. And, Rust is catching up to Java. And this is, pre-launch. And Java is the most mature. And then once the guy from Oracle came in, it was like, okay, Java got it was like, we're going to really invest in Java because like everything here, so I'm not actually sure where
our chief of product.
Yeah. So that,
yeah.
So I'm not even aware where the other SDKs are in terms of catching up, but we decided to build an API wrapper around the Java SDK. That's the bottom line. And so
interesting.
So we basically have a Spring API, which is a REST API wrapper around the Java SDK that talks to all the Java functions, which calls protobuf, which calls the, Hashgraph nodes.
Yeah.
Hedera nodes.
Okay. And then so what do you guys have on the other end kind of talking to your API or SDK wrapper, I guess, for lack of a better word?
So, and then our Django app has an API wrapper.
Okay.
And then our API talks to the Spring API, and that's how we make Hedera and Tunefm happen.
Okay. Yes. Super interesting. Are you aware of anyone else who is building wrappers on top of our SDKs to make it easier like that?
Actually, yeah. I did hear of somebody who did it. Maybe the Resolute guys, or
they did it with Swift, I believe. I think
for the iOS thing, and so like, and I think 2 or 3 people have done it. So it's actually I heard there was some YouTube of somebody talking about doing that. And I've heard of multiple other people doing it, so I think it's a common Hedera pattern. Because
that sounds interesting.
Yeah, if you're not deep enterprise Java, which most modern stacks aren't, they're JavaScript or like Node or like.
Especially if you're working in like a small team and.
Yeah, like we're Python, but others are Node and like React or whatever. But like all the hardcore enterprise stuff is Java, right? Which I know that's where Spring comes from. Like I know Java. I'm like I studied that in school, but I haven't really touched it in a long time, and I'm mostly on the front end anyway. So.
And so what does the rest of your architecture look like? So you have this Django website that talks to a wrapper that you built kind of around our Java SDK that is your kind of bridge to the Hedera network. On the other side, you have, I know right now, I think it's one Solidity smart contract, and you're moving into, I think, a sharded smart contract solution.
So
I think something about how you got too much traction and too many users after your recent news.
Yeah. So basically, so when we launched, we started to hit all kinds of, different errors and fees. And so we actually built a lot of software around the part of our app that talks to the Hedera API, the Spring API. So we have our API endpoints, which is all the Solidity methods, basically. And we can open up a Swagger portal and basically hit the endpoints. And so our app talks to that. But basically, in order to, so when HBAR first came out, we launched on the minute of OA, and everything was working perfectly. Like literally nothing, it went off without a hitch. And we're like, oh my God, no.
Everything's great till you launch.
Everything's great, right? And then, of course, there is a lot of price volatility. And then because the fees are actually pegged to fiat, but they're payable in H bar. The nominal H bar amount skyrocketed, and we had it hard coded based on the test net, of course. And
Okay.
then we had to build all this fee simulation stuff, which is super complicated.
Kind of like ad hoc, because you kind of launched and didn't assume that there would be this price volatility.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, we actually thought that because the way it was in the test net, it was always like 40,000 tiny bar. Like that's what it was, or 70,000 tiny ballot. That's what it was.
Yeah.
There was no changing fees. Like that wasn't something we ever expected. It wasn't in the software, the docs, like everything's beta because that's the price of being first. Like you come into Hedera when everything's hardened and documented and built and everything's accounted for and all the problems have already been hit, then it's like everything's fine. But like we went in when it's, it's like using the the unstable version of software on purpose, like the developer mode of something. So like that's what we're doing, right? So anyway, basically,
yeah, there's always fun challenges that happen when you are, first movers in a obviously brand new technology space.
Yeah,
and it's super interesting. And so could you talk a little bit more about how you deal with fees maybe now that you maybe re-architected or changed that?
Yeah, so basically with the fees, there's two kinds of fees. There's a transaction fee and a query. The transaction fee will, if you overpay, it will pay back the balance. And with a query, it will consume whatever you pay it. Now, there's also gas. So there's a smart contract gas, and that's different for the query. It's much less for the query, much more for the transaction. So you have to estimate all four of those things, basically. And for the transactions, you have to overshoot the fee. And then you have to account for the fact that the HBAR price is changing. So you have to hit the file store exchange rate of HBAR to get the price. So what you're calculating of 10% more than what you think it would be, that has to go.
You usually overpay by 10%.
Yeah. Okay. We started doubling. We actually did 10x. I mean, at certain points, so the fee's actually 10x. So we had to go over like 20x, and then if it fails, then it retries. So like so we actually had insufficient gas, and then it had to retry and add 10% and add 10%. But the problem is that since it was 10 times more and it was adding 10%, it retried like 100 times, and we lost like 1,000 HBAR. So we had multiple HBAR bleed out scenarios, like where crazy stuff with fee estimation gone awry. It was really hectic the first few weeks, just trying to figure out how to deal with this. And the price was still volatile. So like things, it was really like hitting a moving target. And they're like, so we can estimate the query because they consume the whole thing. But then the gas cost is changing and the exchange rate is changing. So we can get a simulation there, but we still have to account for all those things. And then with a transaction, there's no method to estimate the amount. So you have to calculate it like based on all these other factors and use the exchange rate and do the gas and overshoot it. It's so you got to like build all this. So like maybe we'll open source some of that stuff later.
So what have you put in place to prevent those kinds of bleed outs in your words from happening in place? Are you just, kind of limiting attempts of retries, or?
Well, we just got really good at estimating.
You're just better now than you were.
Yeah, we're just way better. Yeah. It's just like orders of magnitude, it's just like things weren't aligned right, and now that it's working. We had an all balances bleed out where like it kept checking all balance, like there's a few, and they're all different for different reasons, but like you got to be wary of things when you have loops that are retrying things, that all of it costs money, because it's like you're running programs that everything costs money, and it's like all of a sudden you can have something that just keeps going. You're not even aware. You wake up and your HBAR is done. You're wiped out. We were like 100, 100 HBAR. So like we actually went to 0 once, and the app shut down. We're like, why is everything down? Like, oh, we lost all our H bar.
Yeah, that's super interesting. It's insightful to hear, real world hands-on experience about your app in production and the ways that your fees have kind of had to adjust and you've had to change. And, it's an on the fly thing for sure. So you said that there's been a couple instances where you actually lost all of your H bar. I mean, at least within, one account. And you are an app that your users do hold some jam. Could you talk about how you manage your jam, and could you talk about how you kind of manage your users' jam? Like, obviously, I don't think that your bleeding out is going to affect your users' wallets.
It's a totally different currency.
Yeah.
H bar and jam are two different currencies. So, I mean, look, the main reason we ran out is because we launched the Beyonce content. So, like, and so
you can blame her for that one, I guess.
Yeah. So and then we were able to replenish it, but also we did have a few bleed out events that we fixed after we lost like 2,000. It's like a 20 or 30 bucks, before we caught it.
Yeah.
But, and like
it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, and we're not coming out of pocket right now for the H bar since we're first, and like these types of things, we knew things like this might happen, but we actually got it down to like a few dollars a day.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So that's all that you're paying in fees?
Yeah, like we could, at times when we have a huge amount of traffic, it could become like 5 to 10, maybe 20 or 30 at the most. But
compared to traditional service provider fees, compared to
it's like our cloud service, or like, we have like at least a dozen online services that we pay monthly $30 to $50 to $100 for. It's just another one, essentially.
Hedera, but
a cloud service. So we were, a little like, the reason we built the batch transfer, bulk transfer function is because the fees were too high to hit the smart contract for every micro payment. Then we would be paying hundreds of dollars a month. Now, we're only paying a few dollars a day because we only run it every half an hour, our bulk transfer. If we ran it every minute, then it would be like, renting an office. We ran it every 10 seconds. It would be more money. We're more well capitalized. We have more traffic to support the necessity to run it every minute. Then we'll do that.
So it's really like a slider kind of like cost benefit. Like, what kind of user experience do we need to provide versus, how can we keep fees so low that we can pass off, the rest of this value to the people in the ecosystem. That's
so
super
as a
interesting.
startup, we're doing the startup budget thing. And we built our whole fee estimation software, and then we also hit the node busy error because of the throughput throttle. So we had to build a retry function, and then we also hit the max transaction size of 4 kilobytes because we tried to process 400 micropayments at once, and it errored out.
Oh,
and then we had
quite a lot of micropayments.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because every half an hour, somebody can go, a few people, and so
it's an easy queue to add up.
Yeah, and so we did that, and anyway, so then we had to build a queuing system which does 60 at a time because 4 kilobytes can only fit 60. So, and that basically limits the bottom, the least amount we can pay per song is basically a tenth of a penny, basically, at the current rate.
Okay, so basically, anytime someone listens to a song, it'll get added to this like queue in your guys' smart contracts or in your guys' infrastructure. Every 30 minutes, you'll basically try to process through that queue on like a 60 transaction batch, essentially. And you could slide that, depending on how you want to do it. If you had more capital, you could, speed and throw them out there as fast as you want. You could maybe do something where users could just opt to pay directly and pay those fees themselves, maybe. It's interesting that you do have the flexibility there. And it's nice that it sounds like you're finding kind of a balance between this is a cost-effective business for us, and this is, the vision of what we want, where artists are getting paid, every time people listen to their music.
Yeah, totally. We're better than 2 years for getting paid. So we do it every 20 minutes or every 2 minutes. Eventually it'll be every 10 seconds,
Yeah. Oh,
By the
yeah,
time,
absolutely.
by the time it's gossiped out 3 to 5 seconds, we're going to hit, every 10 seconds. So like, and I've plotted out how much that would cost. I don't have the exact numbers right now, but it's something that like if we were well capitalized, we could do, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's super
Uh,
interesting and good to know.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so, as one of the earliest adopters of Hedera, and probably the earliest adopters of Hedera smart contracts, uh, what kind of advice, if anything, would you offer to the rest of Hedera's developer community, if you have any?
Yeah. So I mean, so you mentioned the sharding thing. So another limit that we hit as a result of the Beyonce announcement was the state size. So this is something that's different from Ethereum. So as advice, I would look into all the ways that Hedera is different from Ethereum. Don't assume that you
Yeah.
can use Remix and whatnot and all your ganache and whatever, that it's the
Yeah.
exact same environment, because it's not. It
Yeah. Maybe
works
test in
differently. It's
production
not
a bit.
blockchain. Like Ethereum's trying to go to proof of stake, but they haven't. Like it's blockchain. So like and it is proof of stake, and it's a different thing. So one of the things we didn't even know about. So like we ran into things we didn't know existed. All these things were
Yeah. The
surprises.
unknown
Every
unknowns are
error was
always the
every day was a new error that we had to tackle and build a system for it. So one of
yeah.
them, and this was a big one, where we basically maxed out our smart contract at 800 kilobytes.
Okay.
And it was like a little under 10,000 users. So, because we just had a lot and it's more expensive to have new users because you have to hit the smart contract, create the wallet and the account, and we transfer the jam token. It's like 3 or 4 transactions that happen that are all expensive. So anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
every new user, when you transfer them 100 jam tokens, it's 120 bytes to add to the smart contract state. So there's something called state bloat. Now Ethereum,
Yeah.
who knows how Vitalik did it, but he made the upper limit more than it would be. You would break the blockchain before you would hit the upper state limit. But because of the nature, and I'm not, we have a call with Lehman, so we're going to dig deep on this. But the nature of Hashgraph has the state limit size that the smart contract and has to do with the way the smart contract is stored in the file service. Ethereum doesn't have a file service. It's just different. It's like
Yeah.
a totally different animal. Like it's
Yeah, yeah,
stored in the file
totally.
service, and there's this limit of 800 kilobytes, and that impacts the throughput for smart contracts. And so higher state size is lower throughput, higher throughput, lower state size is a trade-off that I didn't even know existed. That's a Hashgraph only thing. So basically what happened was like, okay, we're like, well, what are we going to do? Like, okay, well, we can increase the state size, lower the throughput. But essentially that just buys us some time. This is our conversation with the Hashgraph team with a bunch of the technical leads on. And so, and Christian has had a product. And so like, well, we can maybe double it. And how much time would that buy? How many users? We're doing all this math to figure out this and that. But like the elephant in the room is we need a totally different architecture from what we started with. It's a totally new way of doing smart contracts. And it's a sharding structure for smart contracts, which allows you to have multiple smart contracts that talk to each other. So we're going to shard before Hedera shards. Yeah. And we already maxed out our first shard. So basically if, be 100 of them, or 1,000 of them, times 10,000, we can have millions of users. So we can have all these smart contracts. Who says why not? But the smart contracts have to.
So you'd have one contract that does like a lookup or kind of manages the rest of them.
So we actually have a router contract that reads, where you're going and tells you which contract to go to, and which contract. Like it's actually for this address belongs in this contract. We actually use the account ID, and we use the digits in the account ID to place it in a specific smart contract. So the account ID is the address for the smart contract. Yeah. We can't append any numbers, so we can't like add stuff. We just have to do hacky things to like figure out with what we have, I mean, it's not hacky.
Yeah. Well, again, it's
a
well,
sharding.
the thing is, you're the first people kind of working through an unsolved problem space.
Yeah.
And so again, it's just you guys pioneering the way and building out this vision that you guys have. And it's awesome that you do, like you said, that, Lehman and the team from Hedera is helping you guys out. And, that's really great to hear on our end. But it sounds like kind of your key advice to other Hedera developers would be try to figure out everything you don't know. Test in production would probably be a good, so you can't just test a test. That would probably be a good.
We test in production all the time. Yeah, it's always live. Yeah, it's a different environment. That's the other thing. Yeah, it's different. But yeah, that's one.
Yeah. And I think, having those conversations with Lehman and the team at Hedera and, really figuring out how you can leverage what is a fundamentally new technology, something that no one else is really building the way for. So that's super interesting.
Yeah.
I guess my last question would be, is there anything that you're currently working on or in your roadmap that you're able to kind of share with us or talk about? I actually think we had a question in the chat that asked, are there any new artists that are going to be added to the platform?
Oh, yeah. So actually, we have a few friends in the music business who have like recording studios and labels, and they have huge catalogs. So we built this whole bulk upload system for the Matthew Knowles catalog. So we have 4,000 songs or so, new songs on the platform, and hundreds of artists from that catalog. So check those out. And we're going to use the same system to bulk upload thousands more songs from local recording studios and producers and labels. So Silvertone Records is one of them, excuse me, and a few others we're talking to. And we're going to be marketing with some of the best music marketers who are connected to like super big artists. And so we're, independent and labeled. So we're constantly working on the artist A&R side because like it's all user generated, but also we have to do outreach to music labels and companies and other artists to bring in some big names. So the first example of that obviously is Music World Entertainment and Beyonce. But yeah, that's the artist front.
That's awesome. Is there anything that you can share, I guess, on the roadmap side? I think you talked about that sharded smart contract architecture. Yeah, is there anything like functionality wise, like as someone who goes into Tune and listens to music, anything totally, you can share?
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, the next big thing is obviously the sharding solution for smart contracts. It's sort of a split state solution, and having hundreds of smart contracts and sharding based on the ID. So that's going to be a whole like the next 3 weeks to a month minimum, if not more, to get all that done. And then we actually have the IEO coming up, actually, non-US people. And so, but what that means for the product, the only reason I mention it, because there's no US token sale, for disclaimer. And basically,
good to throw in there.
It actually just changes the nature of the product because now we have a dynamic price. And so we're actually going to be building pricing algorithms that stabilize the rate per stream of jam. And so the price will be changing under the hood. So that's going to add to it. And then in terms of user features, the first big thing, we have a music visualizer that's going to blow your mind because it's some of the coolest software. I've been working with a friend of mine for close to a decade on this as a side project. And it's super, I'm not going to give it all away, but it's super cool. It's better than any visualizer that's ever been created ever. So
I'm excited now.
Totally built in,
a decade of R&D.
Yeah. This is some really, really cool tech, actually. A custom WebGL engine and like this ridiculous cool stuff.
I'm a fan of WebGL.
Yeah. So that's gonna be really cool. I'm excited to announce that soon. Then we have a whole playlist function. We have a whole like radio function. We're gonna have a whole show feature. We're gonna have like gigging and booking features for artists and touring features. We're going to have the really robust marketing solutions and like a proof of stream dashboard to show your first time streams and all the analytics as an artist. So artist dashboard type tools. Then we also have rewards for affiliates and viral marketing type stuff. Then we have rewards for reviews and earning tokens on the platform, and gamification and levels and badges and all this kind of stuff. Like literally the product pipeline is huge. So like that's why
it sounds like you're really at the kind of MVP today, and
this
you're
is total MVP, bare bones. Yeah.
Well, that's really, really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, what we want to do is blow Spotify out of the water. You know, like what the experience that we're going to offer is going to be so much more engaging than Spotify. It'll be like almost like a fun music game in which you're discovering the best possible things. It's a crypto thing. It's like a music jukebox, like a crypto jukebox where you're discovering like music that you really like, supporting artists, earning tokens, looking at awesome visuals, and like figuring out local music in your community. And it's just going to be way more engaging than an active social experience. Oh,
yeah, amazing things can happen when you can align the incentives there. But
we even have, I just reminded myself of something. We have a really cool live stream feature that we're going to do where you can earn jam tokens for jamming live. You can actually jam, play, or perform live, and you have people listening to you and tipping you with jam tokens as you're playing. And you can have virtual jam sessions with other people. And so like the audio visual tech for this and getting the audio right and like having multiple instruments playing and like is actually totally non-trivial and took decades to build on its own. But like we're using an open source API that does like 80 billion minutes of live streaming a month, like basically running everything, probably what we're on right now, honestly. And like all this other stuff, like specifically for music, it hasn't really been like leveraged in that way. And we're going to do it with the jam token integration and have like this full video live stream, live jam, even video chat, call, whatever you want, like just the full audio video interaction thing built in, you know. Tokenization.
That sounds like crazy.
I mean, and that with the, you know, visualization, and then we're going to have major label content. So we'll have all the other stuff that's on Spotify anyway. By that time, the product's going to be 100 times better than Spotify and have all that content anyway. Plus 100 million more artists that Spotify can't get.
Yeah, that is a super compelling business proposition.
Yeah, so that's really where we want to be.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. It sounds like you're getting some excitement in the YouTube chat as well. That's super cool. Cool. Anything else that you'd like to share with us today, Andrew? I super appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're available for any questions, and you know, we're just trying to make it work to get musicians paid and earn a living wage. And you know, it's the technology is really a means to an end for us. We're absolutely not, you know, we're here for our users and our product, and this was the only technology that we could see could bring us to where we wanted to be from a business model standpoint to actually fulfill our mission of supporting artists. So, you know, and just as a byproduct of that, we're on the edge building new smart contract architecture has never been done before on Hedera, and launching the first token of its type. And, you know, so all that's fun too. But, you know, at the end of the day, we're here for the musicians.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to just talk through the kind of 2 final remaining items that I have, and then maybe we can do some Q&A from the YouTube chat, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Awesome. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen now. Hopefully you can still see my slides. So I just really briefly wanted to talk about the resources that we have available for developers today. If you have any questions or any issues, you don't really know what's going on, go to Discord. We have, you know, a good group of people in there, and you can talk to other people that are trying to get started as well. You can find all of our documentation. If you have questions about how to get access to a test network, to an SDK, how to set up your environment and actually write your first transaction, going to the documentation is always a great first starting point for developers. All of our open source code is available on GitHub/Hashgraph. We have everything from our officially supported SDKs to upcoming tools that we haven't really announced yet, if you want to go take a look. We also have our improvement proposal. We have our mobile wallets. We have example applications. There's a lot of really, really good stuff on there. And if you look into this and you say, hey, I want my own account, I want to get access to the testnet, I want to test out your SDKs, go to portal.hedera.com. It's the easiest place, one of the best places to get signed up. You actually might be able to get like a friend to create a portal account for you as well. And at any point along this way, your developer journey, if you have questions, if you aren't really sure how to get started or what's next in your kind of path, you should just feel free to reach out to me. I'm super easy to get a hold of. You can email me. It's cooper@hedera.com, or you can find me on Twitter at Cooper_Kunz. So this is the first developer virtual meetup that we're doing. I'm super excited about these. And this is really just the first kickoff to make sure that everyone is aware of the resources that are out there, and to hopefully feel that I'm not a stranger, that Andrew's not a stranger, and the rest of the people in our community should be approachable to you, and you should feel welcome to ask us if you have any questions. With that being said, I'm super excited to announce our next virtual meetup. You're actually going to be able to learn how to code and deploy your first web app from your browser that will use Hedera Hashgraph. It'll be in December 18th, and that'll actually be featuring, kind of like we had Andrew as our guest today. We'll have Pablo, who's the founder of Hashing Systems, with us that day. And I believe that should involve, creating your own ERC20 token, actually writing your first smart contract, kind of debugging it and making sure it works, and walking you through actually how you're going to deploy that to the network. And after it's deployed to the network, how are you going to expose that, or have like a client website that's able to connect or talk to that smart contract and have people be able to use it. So, if you're interested in learning about how to build your first web application on Hedera and using some of the awesome tools that Hashing Systems is working on, be sure to put this down on your calendars and, plan to come join us that day as well. And you can reach out to him on Twitter as well at it's Publu. Probably misquoting that.
I think it's Pablo. I believe, or is it really Publu? Because I thought his
I
other
think
handle.
that I copy and pasted that, but I could be wrong.
There's another handle somewhere else that I think it's Pablo, but maybe that's I don't know. But never mind.
Well, his name's Pablo, so I mean it's not wrong if it's actually Pablo.
You can find him.
But yeah, that's great. So that's actually all that we had content-wise for our first virtual meetup. We're gonna do some Q&A right now from the live YouTube chat. Let us switch over here. So it looks like there's actually a lot of questions for you, Andrew. Are you plugged into our YouTube chat over here?
I am on my phone. I have it pulled up actually.
Just slacked you or sent you a link over our Zoom here. If there's anything in here that you would like to answer, just feel free to jump in. Any GitHub repo we can take a look at is one of the questions here. Like I said, github.com/hashgraph is where you're going to find all of Hedera's open source software. There's amazing example repositories, demo apps, SDKs, all that good stuff that you're going to want to find there. Are there any example or open source repositories that Tune has, or are you guys mostly focusing on the music?
So we were thinking about open sourcing a tool for compiling the SDK on a Linux machine, and it fixed a couple things with that a while back. The actual contract itself is open source because it's on. We actually have a new contract launching today on Dragonglass.
Yeah, let's share this and give Dragonglass the shout out.
Yeah,
I already had it pulled up and everything.
Boom. Yeah. So And we also have our account, which is 902, which is another page. So we have over 25,000 transactions total on Hedera. And these are all the Jam token transactions, but we're still working on parsing the bytecode so that it can show ERC20 token, like actually show that. But these are all specific to the smart contract and Jam. But yeah, you can see that. So that's the open source code of the contract itself. You can see that there's a billion supply, stuff like that. We have all the methods there, the bulk transfer, you know, all that cool stuff.
Yeah, this is super interesting. And like I think you said, Dragonglass and OpenCrowd actually launched these pages today, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty
You're
sure
one of the first two dApps on here.
Yeah,
you and Pablo's hash name service. So look at that.
Of course, me and Pablo. Yeah, so we worked with
interesting.
Pablo at Helix, so we're good friends and we share resources. And our, you know, the Hashgraph developer community is pretty close knit, so we all sort of know each other for the most part.
Yeah, that's one of my.
But there's pockets. You know?
Yeah. Hopefully through this virtual meetup, we'll start to get more familiar faces and start to get to know each other a little bit better. But it's super cool. I think you and Pablo met through Helix, the accelerator dedicated to projects building on Hedera Hashgraph.
Well, actually at Hedera 18, because he won the hackathon, and I was there speaking, and then I talked to him afterwards. I was like, we want to use your hash name service. He's like, oh, okay, well, I just hacked it together. I have to like really build it. And and then of course he joined Helix, we joined Helix, and then we're able to get to know each other a lot better. But yeah, and we've been collaborating on certain things. So you can actually see a Jam token wallet on the Composer thing that Pablo made. So
awesome.
Soon you'll be able to send Jam tokens to that wallet, but we actually do technically have a third-party wallet that you can see your Jam token balance, because every Hedera account could have, if it's part of the smart contract, could have a Jam token balance. So you put the smart contract ID into the, I believe it's called the Composer thing, the studio. I forget. Pablo can correct me.
He has a couple of products there. I'm sure he can clarify for us in a month.
Yeah, the one with the tokens. You put in the smart
contract. It's my HBAR token.
Okay, maybe it's that. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, I think that might be it. Yeah. Anyway, and so you put it in, and then you can see it says Jam, but there's no tokens in there. And so, but if you were to export the private keys of your Jam wallet, you could technically upload it there and see that more balanced. But once we are able to send Jam tokens to third-party wallets, then you'll be able to receive them in a third-party wallet. So that isn't yet implemented. But yeah,
super interesting. Yeah. Are there any other questions that we have from the live stream that people might have? Someone asked how many Jam tokens are there. Did you already answer that?
Yeah, 1 billion is the supply. 600 million will be publicly circulated eventually. And then 200 million part of the treasury, which gets used for rewards for joining and gamification and whatnot.
Yeah, super interesting. Someone said I'm trying to learn. This is like Greek to me now. Keep attending these, and hopefully we have enough good educational content that you will become a Hedera developer yourself.
Yeah. I'm looking through these questions. How many transactions per day? So you can go on those smart contract pages and see all the live stats on the Dragonglass.
Per
week, per day. I think it's 25,000 for for the last 30 days. So our account is actually 902. So 0.0.902.
He's inviting everyone to go look up all their transaction histories.
That has all our transaction history. That's where it says 25,000 something. And then we have the jam page, which is
you
new.
do have over 25,000 transactions on account 902.
Yeah,
That's
and
quite
that's
a
just
lot.
Hedera transactions. And then on the smart contract page, it shows all the smart contract transactions. So that's a different set.
Yeah, you got another
Yeah.
7,500 on there. So
And then
over
you also, there's
30,000.
another tab where you put token. So there's two different.
Token transfer.
Yeah, there's another tab. It's another like 15,000 there.
Pushing.
And then, I don't know. So we're trying to push all the limits of the smart contract platform, and we
that's an understatement.
we're battle testing it, and so it's been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that answers, all of the, someone asked for slides regarding the Tunefm architecture. Do you have any, public resources or places people can kind of look at how this whole thing works?
Yeah, so if you actually go to hero.fm, HEARO.fm, that's actually technically the name of the company, because you might have heard of us before as hero.fm, but we rebranded and we're hero.fm is now tune.fm, but because hero.fm is the name of the company and we have the domain, anyone going to hero.fm will now go to the company website, essentially, which is like where you can read all about the jam token, how it works, and get a better idea and see the latest news, see the team, the advisors, investors, partners, everything. So we have information there, and we're always updating that with new. I still have to add all the new news, so that'll be there soon, because it's like a manual process. But anyway, and also the links to all of our social places. So we have the Telegram community, we've got Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, and Paul does a great job. Shout out to Paul. He's managing the community in the chat. Manages our Twitter as well as Telegram, and so he's really awesome, and he can answer any of your questions as well, because he's sort of our public liaison or ambassador, and communications director, and so he can route to whoever needs to answer a technical question too. And so we have a lot of channels open. Come talk to us. We're happy to talk and answer any questions about what it's like to build on Hashgraph.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Andrew. As one of the earliest adopters and one of the, pioneering smart contract applications, super insightful to hear your experience and share your insights. If anyone has more questions for either Andrew or myself, I think you know where to find us. So thanks, everyone. This was super fun. I hope to see you on December 18th.
Cool. Is that December 18th?
Yep, it will be on December 18th here.
What is? Oh, what's on December?
The next virtual meetup. Come on.
Okay.
Got it. You're not paying attention.
I was like, Hedera 19. Is it not here? Sorry. Yeah. Of course, Pablo. Yeah. So I'll be there. I'll definitely be there for that. See you soon.
Yeah. No worries. Well, thanks for your time, Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bye.
All right.